Hey, have you ever actually stopped to look at the screen you're watching this on? I mean, really look at it. It's something so common we just don't even think about it. But today, we're going to figure out why it's almost always a rectangle.
Seriously, just look around you right now. Your phone, your TV, your laptop, even the screen in your car. We are living in a world completely dominated by rectangles. And you know what? That was no accident. It's actually a fascinating mix of biology, a little bit of Hollywood drama, and some seriously powerful economics.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the common explanations, then dig deep into the hidden world of pixels in manufacturing. We'll even take a look back at a surprising bit of history, and then finally, peek at what the future might hold.
All right, first up, let's talk about the shape we see literally all day, every day, but don't really see at all.
The rectangle has just become the default. It's the standard issue shape for how we get our information. And as we're about to find out, that default choice is this incredible intersection of how we're built to see what we love to watch, and, maybe most importantly, how we build things on a massive scale.
So what are the go-to reasons people give for our rectangular world? Well, it usually boils down to two things: our own two eyes and Hollywood.
The first reason is pretty simple. It's biology. I mean, our eyes are set side by side on our heads, right? This gives us a field of vision that's way, way wider than it is tall. So a rectangular screen, especially a widescreen one, it just feels more natural. It kind of lines up with how we already see the world.
Okay, so the second reason, that comes from the world of entertainment. Back in the 50s, when television was taking over with its boxy 4:3 ratio, Hollywood needed to fight back. So what did they do? They went epic. They introduced these huge widescreen formats. Fast forward a few decades, and TV makers started selling widescreen as this premium cinematic experience for your own living room. But you know what? Biology in movies, that's really only part of the story. To truly get why the rectangle rules, we need to go smaller. Like way, way smaller. We need to talk about the pixel.
We tend to think of our screens as one solid, seamless image, but they're not. They're actually a grid made up of millions and millions of tiny little dots of light. Those are pixels, and they are the absolute fundamental building blocks of every single digital image you've ever laid eyes on.
You know, we often imagine pixels as little squares, but as one of the pioneers of computer graphics, Alvy Ray Smith, explained, they're really just points of data. They're samples. It's the grid they're arranged in that gives them their power.
So, why a rectangular grid? Well, it all comes down to pure, beautiful efficiency. See, squares and rectangles fit together perfectly with zero gaps. It's a property called tessellation. You could use circles, but you'd have all this wasted space in between. And sure, hexagons can tessellate too, but try drawing a simple straight line with them. It's a coding nightmare. At the end of the day, a simple grid with x and y coordinates is the easiest, most logical way for a computer to organize and find millions of pixels instantly.
Okay, so biology makes sense, right? And the pixel grid is totally logical. But the most powerful reason, the one that really cements the rectangle's rule, has nothing to do with what's on the screen. It has everything to do with how the screen itself is born. Everybody, I want you to meet the mother glass. See, manufacturers don't just make one iPhone screen at a time. No. They create these absolutely enormous sheets of high-tech glass, and then they carve out all the individual screens we use every day. The best way to picture it is like you're cutting cookies from a sheet of dough. If you use a rectangular cookie cutter, you can line them up right next to each other and have very little leftover dough. But if your cutter is a circle, oh, you're going to have tons of wasted dough between each one. And when that dough is incredibly expensive, high-tech glass, waste is everything. And get this, the numbers here are just wild. In a modern factory, if they were to only cut big 65-inch TV panels from one sheet of mother glass, their cutting efficiency would be a measly 64%. That means over a third of that complex, costly glass is just scrap. It's thrown away. So, to fix this, manufacturers play this giant, high-stakes game of Tetris. They use these super complex algorithms to cut all different sizes of rectangular panels from a single sheet. They call it multi-model on a glass, and it can push their efficiency up to over 90%. That economic reality right there is maybe the single biggest reason our world is filled with rectangles.
So it all seems pretty inevitable, doesn't it? You've got biology, software, and economics all pointing to the rectangle. But what if I told you that in the early days of television, this wasn't the case at all?
That is right. The very first television tubes, the big, bulky CRTs, actually had circular faces. It was just a side effect of how they were made. It was way easier and safer to make a strong, round glass vacuum tube that wouldn't implode from the pressure.
But here's the funny part. Even on those old round screens, the picture they showed was usually rectangular. Why? Because the electron beam that painted the image on the screen scanned in straight, horizontal lines. It was just way simpler to make every line the same length. On top of that, people were already used to looking at rectangular art, paintings, photos. So, eventually, the technology caught up and the glass tube shape evolved to match the picture inside.
So for decade after decade, the rectangle has been king. But what about the future? Well, technology is finally starting to let us break out of the box.
We're already seeing this happen. Think about circular smartwatches or some of the wild dashboard displays in concept cars. These are called free-form displays, and they can be cut into pretty much any shape you can dream up. But it turns out, escaping the rectangle isn't just a manufacturing problem anymore. It's a huge design problem.
Just think about it for a second. Our entire digital design language is built for rectangles. How do you neatly arrange app icons on a circular screen? What does a balanced website look like on a screen shaped like a hexagon? Developers are having to literally invent a whole new set of rules and learn skills that are way more complex than standard app development.
And this all brings us to a really fascinating final thought. For the first time, really, we have a choice. We're not totally locked in by the old constraints that built our rectangular world. So as we go forward, the question isn't just, can we change the shape of our screens? It's, should we? If a screen could be any shape at all, what would you want it to be? Thanks for tuning in.